Today's open class, we would like to hear from Chris, my good friend Chris SIGALOFF at the back. Chris, perhaps you can come out. Chris runs an institution called Kennisland, which I gather is knowledge land, right? Is it knowledge land? Yeah, Kennis is knowledge, and Kennisland is a think and do tank in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. They work with government. They work with different professions and to come up with the different methodologies and solutions to make Holland a smarter place and a more innovative place. And in the last 10 years, they have done a number of key projects in the field of education innovation. And it's my great pleasure that she has flown to Hong Kong. She arrived yesterday only to present this talk and to facilitate the workshops that is also part of the Make a Difference summer school. Okay, so I have talked enough. Could you all please give a big round of applause and welcome Chris.
Am I okay like this? Yes. So what an honor to be here, and that you all came on this Saturday to talk and think and listen about education innovation. For me, also a topic very close to my heart. So a little story from the Netherlands and from Amsterdam, where I'm from. And although a little bit like Hong Kong, education is always, when you look at the international statistics and the PISA reports, all these things, Holland is always up there on the top. I think at the moment it's like number 3 of the world. And in the OECD report, which was just presented in 2016, so this year, it says, in many respects, the Dutch education system stands out from the crowd. So in general, it is believed that education in the Netherlands is quite good, and it's also, there's a lot of public money, just like in Hong Kong, going to education, and it is also has a lot of good things about it. But, however, it's good, but it's not great, and it should be great because the Netherlands is a very developed country and it's a very rich country. So I think education should not only be good, it really should be great. One of the problems is there are a lot of unmotivated students. If you're an average student, you're fine. But if you're a little bit different, or a bit slower, or a bit smarter, or a bit more creative, or you like moving around a little bit more, often you have a problem. And also people fall out of education, drop out. Another problem is that teachers are very much feeling unsatisfied. It used to be that being a teacher was almost like being a doctor. It is one of the most important professions that there is, and I believe that it's the educators who are working with the future. They're working with our next generation. But in the Netherlands, and it's a little bit better now, people almost didn't want to be a teacher anymore. When they would come out of university, they would say, no, we don't want to be a teacher. We rather, study economics and go into the business world, but not be a teacher. Because teachers have the feeling that they're stuck in their job, the salaries is not so high, but most important thing is they don't feel they can be innovators. They feel that they need to, and this is why I have the picture of Charlie Chaplin, everything has been thought about education by other people, and they just need to just turn the wheel and not be very innovative. Another problem is, this picture is a little bit out, but there's a growing amount of bureaucracy. This is one of the things that the teachers complain about. They say we don't have time anymore to talk to the students because we're filling in forms and we're doing a lot of tests. And I know you have that as well here in Hong Kong, that teachers are more and more in schools are busy filling out bureaucracy instead of really working with the children. And there's been, since a long years, a lot of education innovation programs. But all these programs are often initiated by the government. There's a strong board of education. And the government says, okay, here is a big innovation plan. And most of these innovation plans have failed. In 2007, there was a report in the Netherlands which actually concluded 40 years of innovation in education has been a failure, because almost nothing worked. And this also, you know, this picture is also because teachers can be quite stubborn. They would be like, okay, there's another governmental program. We'll just turn around and pretend nothing happened. And so a lot of money was wasted and a lot of damage was done, actually, and things got even worse and not only better. So in a way, education sometimes feels like a mammoth tanker. It's going in one direction, it's been going in a direction for a long time already, and it's very difficult to change its course. It's very difficult to really to get it to innovate, which is strange because our society is changing very rapidly. If we think about how knowledge is created, about information people have, the internet, we can look things up on the phone these days, you know, in a split second. But still we're teaching our children in the same way as we used to. And another thing we see is that there's a growing complexity. Problems are not so easily solved. It's not like you can look in a chapter of a book and say, this is how you need to do it. And we all feel that elements like creativity, working in a multidisciplinary way, that those are things important for the future. But if we look at it in our schools, it's not really there. So it seems like we're educating for jobs of the past and not for jobs of the future. And the whole concept of knowledge, of course, is also changing, and it's democratizing. And also in Hong Kong, of course, with all the events of the years, the last years, you see this here too. So I think the core question that we need to start thinking about is, what does this mean for our education? And this is why I'm so delighted that MAD is organizing the summer school, because this is the question we were working with for 3 days. And of course, we won't come up with the great answer. You know, you can do a lot of analysis, but it's not easy to come up with the answer. But at least we're thinking about it, and not only thinking, we're taking steps and experimenting. So Ada just said I'm from Kennisland, and it's an independent think tank, or do tank, based in Amsterdam. It's about 20 people, and we've been around for 17 years. And it's only around 9 years now that we've been really also trying to create innovation in education. And this is really difficult because in the Netherlands, if you want to talk about education, you need to be an educator, or you need to be from the university or from the board of education. But if you're an outsider, like we are, they actually say, well, you know, what's your position? So when we started 9 years ago, and when I started 9 years ago, luckily I could always say, my parents are both teachers, so it gives me some right to say. But it's strange because we actually are all stakeholders of education. We all went through education. A lot of us have children, so we are the clients of education. We should be able to say something about it. So when we started 9 years ago, for us, it was really like, what can we do to get this mammoth tanker on another position? And what can we do, being very small, having no money, and being outsiders? And so I would like to share with you the 3 strategies that we've been trying to do. And the first, and I really believe this is also in Hong Kong really important, and that's why I'm also very happy with the whole movement that is starting now, is that we should empower our teachers. From all the research, it always proves that what is really important for good education, it's the teacher. I bet if I ask you, what was your best experience in education? You'll say, this one teacher who made an impression on me. And it doesn't matter if that's person, you know, in a small school or a big school or a rich school. It's the teachers who convince and have the passion to not only give you knowledge, but to show you that learning is something nice. and can be something that is so beautiful in life. But then again, as I said, we should make the teachers important again, and we should make the teachers the innovators, and we should have the teachers come up with ideas about how they would want to improve the system. And this will not only make it nicer for teachers to be a teacher, but this will also spark innovation in education. So what we did in the Netherlands is we started with a program called Education Pioneers. And it was a very simple program, and I'm so happy in Hong Kong you're starting the same, thanks to the Jockey Club. Is what we do to teachers is ask teachers, come up with your best ideas. Come up with ideas how you would like to improve your own school. And what do? We give them a little money, we give them a network, and we bring them together, and they learn from each other. We give them a stage, a podium, a trophy, and we work with them. And this program has now been running for 8 years in the Netherlands, and we started very small with 20 teachers in 1 year, and then another 20, and now it's a big program in the whole of Netherlands. It's actually now supported by the Board of Education and about the government, and I think it has really helped in giving teachers giving education back to the teachers. Another strategy which I think can really help is things that we're doing like this today, is to create learning networks. It's very strange that schools, which are completely about learning, are not really learning organizations themselves. Teachers are in their classroom and the door is closed, and there's hardly any talk to other teachers, or school principals together, or settings like we have here that we start thinking and talking about education. And so I think what innovators are doing, and the fests, to start up with discussions, and perhaps we can have education cafes, and we need to create a network of pioneers, of innovators, because it's very difficult to do it all by yourself behind closed doors. And the third, one of the things that we did in the Netherlands was also create a school leaders program, a principal for principals, because of course also the principals need the vision and need some inspiration to think about the future. And the third strategy, and I talk to you a little bit longer about the third strategy, is in a way to open up the education, to make it also possible to have the unusual suspects come into the field of education and give them a voice, people like we are here today. And so what we did in Amsterdam was it was one of the best experiments of my last year, was that in Amsterdam we need new schools because there was a shortage of schools. And so we had a very courageous alderman, it's like the Secretary of Education of Amsterdam, and her name is Simone Koekenheim, and she was courageous because she said normally when there is a need for new schools, it's the existing school boards that set up the schools. But she said, no, we're going to do it differently this time. Why don't we ask all the people of Amsterdam to come up with their ideal schools for the future? So what we did is we set up a challenge together with the city of Amsterdam. And we had a campaign, and we asked all the people in Amsterdam to come up with their plans for new schools. And I wasn't very sure if people would come with ideas, because I thought, yeah, people will have ideas about playgrounds and about community centers, but do they really have ideas about schools? Well, actually, 175 ideas were launched on the website, and you see them here. And 124 really plans were handed in. And it was also interesting to see, you see here, for example, on the end, you see a girl of 17, and we asked them to come and pitch their ideas. And this girl said, I'm 17, I've been in school for a very long time, and I really know how we can do it in a better way, and here's my plan. But there were also artists, people from the youth work, people from the business world. You see the man with the suit. All different people had ideas about, in a way there was an expression, in Holland everyone always has an opinion about football. Well, people also in Holland always have an opinion about education. But this was the first time that we asked them to do something with it. So finally, 15 of these 124 were selected, and we worked with them in an incubator. And we worked for 5 months, and we really helped develop their plans. And we worked very closely with the Board of Education and with the inspection, because it's complicated building a school. And this was not just private schools, these were publicly financed schools. And here you see the alderman, the Secretary of Education, with the 4 winning schools. And these 4 schools are now being set up in Amsterdam as we speak. And you can imagine that the boards, the old-fashioned school boards, in the beginning they were not happy at all. They were actually very angry. They said, why do you let amateurs think about education and about new schools? This is our work. But finally, because we worked very closely with them, they are now also working together. And they actually saw, hey, but all these people have a lot of great ideas and we can benefit from that. So just to give you a little impression, this is Kimo, one of the winners. And it's funny because she came up with, she had this idea already for 10 years, and it's actually an old-fashioned idea. Because what she did is set up a school especially for boys. Because she had a son, and her son was really difficult coping in a normal school because he wanted to play sports all the time, and he wasn't like really studious, and he was getting miserable in the normal school. And she said, we need a school which is much more tailored to boys. And in Holland, for example, almost all the teachers are women and hardly any men. And this is not always a good role example for little boys growing up. So she set up a school completely tailored. Girls are allowed to, but it's tailored for boys. And for example, you can do an exam standing up instead of sitting down. Here you see Annette. Annette was actually a quite experienced school principal already, and she was running a successful primary school. And in Holland, the school system is from like 4 to 12, and then you do your exam, and it determines to which school you go. And all the research proves that choosing your career at the age of 12 is too soon. And so she wanted to set up a school which was not from 4 to 12, but from 0 to 18. And it seems so simple, but this was really difficult to do because it had to, you had to bring 2 systems together. And so she's now running the first school in Amsterdam, in Holland, which is from 0 to 18, and where children actually have a much longer time to prepare what their career is going to be, and not on the age of 12. And here you have the school called Klein Amsterdam, and this is a primary school where they actually say, why do we in a classroom, in a school, learn about the city, but we don't learn with the city? Well, actually the city is the laboratory for learning. So this is a school that works together with all organizations in the city, and it's not only fixed in one place, but they actually also have a bus, and they go to all different spots in the city, and they actually say the city is our learning laboratory. So it's called Small Amsterdam, and that's the school. And here is the Alan Turing School, and this is Eva, and Alan Turing is the founder of computers and artificial intelligence, and this school is all geared in teaching kids the 21st century skills, and really, they don't only learn how to use the computer, but they also learn how to program, and computer skills making them much more important. But as you see, it's not about one new concept. I think the importance is that we come up with new concepts and experiment. And perhaps some of these will not turn out to be very good. It could be. And perhaps we need to dare to experiment a little bit more. And I know experimentation and education are 2 words that always, it's a bit scary. because we say we cannot experiment with our children. But I don't think we should. It's also a very big waste not to do anything and to keep training our children and educating them in the way that our parents used to be educated. But the world is changing, and we need to take this step also for our children. So my question to you all here is, how do we light the spark, and how do we get this movement going? And the lessons that I just want to share with you is, give teachers, parents, and students a voice. Let's create ownership and community. Education is of all of us. Let's educate change makers. Not only be a good teacher, but also be a good change maker. Let's show the potential future instead of also only kind of improving the current system. And I know in Hong Kong there's a whole debate going on about education, and people are angry about it or worried about it. But let's also, it's good to be angry, but let's also come up with new examples and show what is possible. Let's work outside in, so not only working from the dominant logic, but getting the outsiders in. Let's dare to experiment. And let's have big ambitions, but act small and act today. And if there's one kind of thing I would like to convey is that these changes are not going to come from the Ministry of Education or from the board. It will have to be from us. So it's George in the system, and sorry, but you're all George. So it's up to you. Thank you.